right, we're gonna. All right, so as our discussion, sorry, we are now going to take a roll call vote. I ask that each member indicate their agreement with the following statement. To the best of my knowledge, during the closed meeting, the only matters heard, discussed, or considered were those matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only those public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened.
Ms. Glover? Aye. Ms. Risu?
Aye.
Mr. Cardwell?
Aye.
Mr. Delandro?
Aye.
Ms. Dorsch? Aye. Ms. Drake? Aye. Mr. Hall? Ms. Moses Smith? Aye. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Score?
Aye.
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, everyone. We're back in open session, and our next item on the agenda is project updates. So, Mr. Statler.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I wanted to introduce folks to Colin Birch at the end of the table, and then also Jennifer Freeberg. They are two VPRA staff members who have been working hard on the New River Valley Passenger Rail project, and we are here today to update the board on this project. As you may recall, in January, we came to the board with an update, and it's just updating you on the work that's been done since then. Background, very quickly, we all know back in 2021, we partnered with Norfolk Southern to announce that passenger rail was extending to the New River Valley. We acquired the Virginia line, which is 28 miles of track between Salmon Crossing going out to the Christiansburg area. As Colin and Jen will talk about, we came back in January and found that the schedule of the cost was very different than what we expected back in 2021 and 2022. We presented those alternatives to this board and said we would continue to work forward, and what we're here today is to talk about that work. So I will turn it over to Colin. Colin, I have the clicker, so just give you a little nod when you want to go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everyone for letting me speak. My name is Colin Birch, planning manager with the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority. While I haven't been on this project since its day one, I've been on it since my day one, so years to me. I'm looking forward to seeing this progress further. So each project at VPRA kind of has a different, its own unique challenges and opportunities. New River Valley is no different, and this graphic on the right side kind of shows you the process of the project development for New River Valley. You can kind of see that there are two tracks. There's an engineering process and the environmental process, both of which go concurrently. We are currently at the preliminary design phase. Back in January, we briefed the board 30% design plans. And with all of these projects that we're going, we have best lessons learned, best practices. One of those is to conduct, if the project has to go through the NEPA process, to do some sort of pre-NEPA work. And just to bring everybody back up to speed, NEPA is the National Environmental Policy Act. Anytime there's federal action, such as federal funding or a federal permit, the project must go through formal NEPA process. This project in the early phases, because there is a little federal funding, and also we are anticipating a Army Corps of Engineer permit. We are anticipating to go through the NEPA process, so we are kind of in the pre-NEPA phase, and what that looks like is a high-level kind of a desktop review of the environmental impacts that could come about because of this project. Also, some public outreach, which Jen will talk about a little bit later. So before we can get down to the shovels in the dirt construction part, we are right here on the cusp of entering into the formal NEPA phase. So again, to bring everyone up to speed with the projects, this map shows a high-level overview of the NRV project. To the right, your right would be the east Roanoke. The left would be to the west to Merrimack. This is a suite of projects, really. It's not just one project. We have the Norfolk Southern led projects, which extends from the Roanoke platform here to downtown Roanoke on that blue line. That's going to be 6 miles of passenger main line to bypass the Roanoke yard down there, which is a very busy yard, so they'll produce congestions. At the Salem crossovers at roughly milepost 251, see that star? That's where the Commonwealth acquired the land 2 years ago. So along that roughly 28 miles, there are a number of bridge, track, culvert improvements that need to be done. Also two tunnels on there that will require some safety improvements. Passenger service has been on this stretch of track since 1979, so a number of federal regulations put in place that we adhere to. So yeah, those are going to be the big cost drivers, the tunnels down there, and then potentially some of the related infrastructure required to reach some of these sites, which we brought these maps here, which outline 3 alternatives that we had in mind to enter into the NEPA phase. Next slide, please. So this is the cost breakdown that was presented back in January for the 3 alternatives. The commonality amongst all 3 of these is a layer facility at Cinnabar Road, which is east of the Merrimack Tunnel. Alternative A would look at the station site at Cinnabar Road along with the layer facility. Alternative B would look at the layer facility at Cinnabar Road, ultimately a station at the NRV Mall site, which is west of the Merrimack Tunnel. So that would include constructing the connector track, improving the Merrimack Tunnel, which is about a mile long. And then alternative C would be kind of a hybrid of the 2. We have the layer facility at Cinnabar, temporary interim platform at Cinnabar for service to begin sooner rather than later. And while the work on the Merrimack Tunnel, the connector track is being completed, the mall site can be also completed. And at the bottom, you can see cost estimates, which were delivered in the 30%, and these schedules. So alternative A, most modestly priced, and the earliest to service is 2028. Alternative B, $785 million and 2030 start date, and then alternative C, which is the costliest, coming up on $1 billion for 2028 at Cinnabar, and then 2030 at the River Valley Mall. In the kind of the pre-NEPA, part of our pre-NEPA work we did, we established a qualitative environmental screening of each of the alternatives. So what you see here, talking about lessons learned, we didn't use red, green because we found out that red, green, color can't distinguish the 2. So more blue means better, more yellow means worse. So yellow impact, blue benefit. And you can see that alternative C and B both score very highly with the most amount of benefit in terms of economic development, pedestrian and bike access, and accessibility to public transportation. But it also scores very low in terms of, it has a greater impact in terms of the environmental impacts. And it does not have as high a benefit for good stewardship of financial resources. Alternative A does not score quite as high for public transportation or bike and ped connectivity or location close to residential areas and economic development, but it does have a low impact in terms of environment and a high benefit in terms of operational as soon as possible and good financial stewardship of the resources. Next slide. Talk about the public outreach. Jenna, who has been leading that, will talk about that. Of pre-NEPA has the public outreach arm and the environmental evaluation arm.
Yes, so thank you, Colin. Hi, everybody. I'm Jenna. I've been leading the public outreach on this particular project since I started in September. In order to get to that summary slide you just saw, we've done 2 rounds of public outreach. The first round was in January, started with speaking with the NRV Station Authority Board and the NRV Rail Advocacy Group, and then we did an open house in Blacksburg the week after. At that particular round, we introduced the alternatives to the public for the first time. At that point, the public was still under the impression that the mall was going to be the only site. So seeing Cinnabar was quite a surprise. The goal of the first round was to gauge the public's input on their purpose and need, because we have a purpose and need that goes into NEPA that we need to present as part of that process and document. And we had a draft, and that needed to be updated with what the public actually needed to see in a station site. So we weren't asking them yet, which station site do you like? Because they didn't have enough information on it. And we honestly didn't have enough information to share either. So we came to them asking, what is it that you would want to see in a station site? What is important to you? What are things that we need to make sure we're including in our NEPA process so that you are best served out of this area? In that, we found out that the priorities were accessible by public transportation, least amount of impact of environmental resources, economic development, good stewardship of financial resources, operational as soon as possible. And we also found out the service is highly supported in the region. People are very, very, very excited about it. The new station is supported regardless of where it's going to be. People just want the service to get there. A lot of what we've heard was, I just want the service to get here. We had to look at current transportation patterns of how we would get to the new station site, regardless of where it was. And how would people use this? Are they going to be taking rideshare? Are they going to be walking? Are they going to be biking? How many parking spots do we need? So you can see some of the supportive comments that we got. These are from the survey. DJ, if you go to the next slide, please, you can see these are the results from our first round of outreach. We received almost 2,000 surveys in our first round. We gave a month and 2 weeks for that survey. It was originally supposed to be a month. We extended it for 2 weeks to allow for more responses to come in. We had a pretty good range of ages and a pretty solid spread across the region. We're very happy with the results that we got here. And among those 2,000 surveys, we got over 500 comments. The comments ranged from not supporting the project at all to highly supporting it and being super excited. DJ, if you move to the next one. So then we were able to take what we learned from round one, put together a process for round two. So round two occurred in April. We went back to the NRV. This time, instead of just one open house, we scheduled multiple pop-ups around the region over the course of 4 to 5 days. So we went to a farmer's market, we went to both the universities out there, we had an open house, we tabled at a festival, and we found that going to multiple pop-ups in addition to the open house provides many more opportunities for the public to come up to us and tell us their opinions. Because if you can't make the open house, you could at least come meet us at the market. You could come meet us at the festival. We were at the library, and that's a really great network to build upon. Another great reason for the open houses is, pop-ups, not open houses, is people who didn't know who we were and didn't know of our project could come up and learn about it. The festival was a really good example of this. People are milling about, there's time in between your interactions and between your activities at the festival, and people would just kind of wander up to us and say, hey, what are you doing? What is this all about? And we were able to get a really great amount of engagement naturally through that process. So the toolbox we used for round two, we relied much more heavily on the media for round two. We used the Roanoke Times for paid advertisements in addition to paid social media advertisements and just organic social media, which is what we relied upon on the first round. First round of engagement had a really great turnout. We had over 150 people at our open house that first time in Blacksburg. For the open house, the second time in Christiansburg, we had about 53 people, but over the course of the whole week we were there, we engaged with at least 220 people. We had another survey this time, so DJ, if you could go to the next slide. So survey number 2, this was now asking people to rank their opinions on the sites. We've given them all the information. As you can see on these boards, we have a little legend right here that explains the impact and the benefit of each site. And we made ourselves available to speak and answer as many questions as we could so that people felt like they were best informed and could make an informed decision on which site that they feel like would be the best for the area. For round 2, we got 935 surveys. It was a little bit longer than the first survey we gave out. And we do think that because it was so close to the first round of engagement, people might have thought it was the same survey. Always lessons to be learned. I think moving forward, we know a better way to go about how to get more responses. But also, we only gave a month for this one because we were limited by the NEPA process and because we wanted to get started and we needed to wrap this up. So really great. We're very happy with how round 2 went. And while we were out there, a man did come up to me at the farmer's market and say that he really appreciated VPRA's approach to public outreach because he really liked that we were in the public, talking to people directly instead of just relying on town governments to give the messages for us. He said he really appreciated that, and we also heard from multiple other people throughout that week that they really appreciated the direct approach that we were taking. DJ, if you can move. So here's what we found from round 2. You can see there is majority support for alternative A. There are support for the other 2. We didn't ask them to say, 1, 2, 3. It was more, I fully support this, I don't, and then there was room for comments. You can see in some of the comments, there's support for alternative A, but there is concern about alternative A. There's concern about public transportation to the area. There's concern about bicycle access and pedestrian access to the area. There's concern that it's a little too remote, and that what happens if the train is delayed and it's really, really late? Is there enough lighting? Is it an enclosed space? They're all valid concerns that we understand. And the concerns for B and C tend to do with cost and time. very interesting responses that we got, and we did get a lot of responses asking us to go back to Norfolk Southern and asking us to renegotiate for access to their main line. We heard that question in January with the Station Authority Board and the NRV Rail Advocacy Group. We heard it at the first open house multiple times. About 20 to 30 comments of the 500 we got on the first survey mentioned Norfolk Southern and Cambria main line in some way. So we are aware that that is something that the people wanted us to do. And if you go to our next slide, you will see some of the comments regarding going back to Norfolk Southern, regarding concerns about alternatives A, B, and C. It's too expensive. This isn't good stewardship of financial resources. The economic development isn't there. What about Bristol? So these are just a handful of some of the comments we got about Norfolk Southern and about the concerns that they presented. There are a lot more than what are shown up there, and I'm happy to share more comments if anybody wants to see them. But overall, we had a very, very positive two rounds of public engagement. As I mentioned, the people were really, really happy to see us out there. We really, I think, utilized our time in the area very well. And we're really excited to go back with whatever announcement we are going to make in the fall and really kick things off, because the public is very, very excited about this project and they want to move forward. Most of the comments we got out there was just, how can I help? What do you need me to do to get this here faster? So I think there's one more slide for DJ, which I'll hand off to, actually, sorry, to Colin and then to Peter.
This is just to kind of echo some of the things that Jenna has already mentioned, how the demand for passenger rail service to the return to the Weaver Valley is very strong in the region. That's what makes this project so enjoyable to work for, that there's such a strong level of support there. There are always concerns about the timeline and expense there. I've been coordinating with the MPOs, the station authority, whoever will have, I've gone in there and talked to much of the museum, the Montgomery County Museum of History and Culture. In the event there's a lot of concerns about it ever actually happening. So I think just letting them know that this is still happening and keeping them aware of it is going a long way. And going back to what Jenna said about the comments about the main line, when those surveys were given out, they were operating under the assumption that, because in the original round feasibility study, we said that the main line was off the table. And these people were still mentioning it, even after we had told them repeatedly, we are not going on the main line. So there is a strong appetite of that. Peter.
Sure, so thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't just point out that Colin, Jenna, Jerica, they've been out in the community. It's refreshing to hear from the community positive feedback about us being out here. And we've all talked about this as a board. We are here to serve the Commonwealth. And we need to make sure that the decisions we are making, first of all, reflect appropriately the money that we get from the Commonwealth, and also really provide a positive benefit to the Commonwealth. We heard very clearly from this board in January that the shift to a Cinnabar or a Cinnabar Mall location was much more expensive than any of us expected, and would also take a lot more time than any of us expected. We also heard, as Jenna pointed out from the community, that would take a lot more time, and it really wasn't the desired way to get passenger rail back to River Valley. So we took that and we went back to Norfolk Southern and we talked to them and we said, okay, this is not what any of us had in mind when we made the announcement back in 2021. Norfolk Southern, is there any way that we can revisit getting to Christiansburg on the main line? And Norfolk Southern totally understood where we're coming from, and they said, you're right. The main line is a better solution. Let's work together to see if we can make that happen. So what we have done is we have a preliminary agreement with Norfolk Southern. It's going to have us evaluate over the course of the next 3 months. And it's a hard deadline. So when we come back to the August board meeting, we will have a recommended path forward. But we are going to work with Norfolk Southern between now and that August board meeting to determine the feasibility of staying on the main line and having a station stop at Cambria, the Cambria Yard location in Christiansburg. We have a level of optimism, but we are not ready to determine the path forward, and we won't be until the August board meeting. Norfolk Southern has been a great partner. They have really jumped into design quickly to see how feasible a Cambria station site would be. And by station site, we mean a high-level platform that's fully accessible, ADA compliant, parking, the whole deal, right there at Cambria, really in the heart of Christiansburg, in a part of Christiansburg that the city is looking to develop pretty aggressive. So it would be a good solution for all. We want to make sure that it's feasible and that there are no surprises. We believe that this could be significantly less expensive, and part of the conversations we had in Norfolk Southern would be to shift some of the dollars that we had been planning to spend on the Cinnabar solution, shift that to us purchasing the Manassas line from Norfolk Southern, which is a railroad line that goes from Alexandria out to Manassas. This is a line that our VPRA partners use every day, Amtrak uses. It would give us a lot more control of passenger rail here in Northern Virginia and really be a win-win for Norfolk Southern and for us. So what we're going to do over the next 3 months is work with Norfolk Southern to determine exactly what the Cambria solution would cost and figure out how the sale of the Manassas line would work. As you can see from the slide, part of this would be Norfolk Southern acquiring the Virginia line back from us. We purchased the Virginia line back in 2021. We would want to sell that back to Norfolk Southern and be made whole for that. Norfolk Southern has been willing to do that. And then in turn, we would get a passenger stop at the Cambria location. So that's where we are today. We are going to work over the next 3 months to make sure that can happen. Part of that is filing with the Surface Transportation Board. It's a non-binding filing, but it's a request to the STB to say, hey, if we acquire the Manassas line, we want to make sure that you don't have jurisdiction over that, and it doesn't impact the freight's common carrier obligation. We're going to continue to advance design to 30% because, as the board has heard, until you're at 30% design, you don't really know what you don't know. And then we'll come back to this board in August with a recommended path forward. That path will either be Cinnabar or it will be Cambria. For now, we're going to pause the Cinnabar work, and we're not going to completely stop. We're just going to pause it. So if Cambria is not feasible, we can restart the Cinnabar work and move forward in August. But based on the feedback from the board, based on the feedback from the community, we felt we had to push Norfolk Southern a little further. And to their credit, they were a great partner. They came to us and said, yes, let's see if we can make that work. A lot more information to come. But we're happy with this path forward, and we're excited to come here in August and have conclusions. And again, Jenna, Colin, the whole team, Steve, Michael Westerman, there have been a lot of moving pieces since the board meeting in January, and we are in a good place today because of the hard work of the team. So I thank you all for that. And for the community for being honest with you. Jenna will take sometimes too honest, but I mean, that's so that's where we are today. Any questions for me or for the team about this proposed path forward?
Just congratulations on the outreach. That's really phenomenal, and it's that's what makes everything work well. When you engage the community, especially at this early stage, and not just with a meeting, but looking at multiple ways of being able to engage with people. So this is exciting, and it's wonderful to hear how positively the message is being received.
I also want to echo Director Bowman's. What I particularly like, I think this could be a model for other municipalities and their interactions with governmental agencies, but the barometers that you have with respect to if you go this route, the implication for economic development is this, so on and so forth. So it's very nicely done, guys.
Yeah, and I was certainly echoing it too. I know that a number of people in that part of the state, the southwest part, feel left out. And I think you perceive that. And I think, even the numbers, while not as high as I'd like them to be, they really do represent what people are trying to get done. And many people sort of put their head down and just said, okay, I'll deal with 81. And I think it's time for us to show them that the Commonwealth as a whole embraces that part of the state, because the more it does, the greater it will be. So kudos.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'd also like to publicly thank our stakeholders in the region for really helping us get the word out and make sure the communities responded to our surveys. We would not have been able to have such good numbers, especially for that first round, if it wasn't for our friends and the stakeholders, the leadership in the New River Valley area, because they really helped push the survey and get those numbers up and make sure that people knew about our events. Our use of media for the second round was really important in making sure people knew that, hey, if I can't make it to that open house on that Tuesday night or Thursday night or whenever it was, that I could at least see the team at this market, or I'll know that they'll be attending here. So I think it was a huge team effort that made it so successful, and I just want to thank everybody involved.
I think one of my favorite comments was, how dare you schedule an open house the night of a Hokies basketball game? Good point.
I extended it earlier so people could come before. Worked out.
Any other questions? Anything from the team, anything I missed?
No, I just want to echo, I had the opportunity to be out there with them in late January at 2 different meetings. They've been really responsive to the community. CTP board member Ray Smoot, some of you may know him, he's gosh, you're walking to a restaurant with him, and everyone knows him. He said great things to the VPRA team for being out there so often. In fact, I'm afraid some real estate agents might give them the cards and get them to move down there. They're so often. So, and it's one VPRA. We don't really care if they report to Jerica or me or the engineering team, Fiat and others. It's really a great group. And to see them coalesce and gel and take the trips out there, it's been great to see. And the community feels that as well. They feel that earnestness from them. So congrats.
Again, our goal is to get passenger rail back to Christiansburg as soon as possible, as efficiently as possible, and we're on a good path.
Ms. Chairman, if I may,
Yes, Ms. Reinhardt.
thank you. I just wanted to reiterate the thanks that's been shared around the table. Participating remotely, I hate I'm not there, but do want to thank not only the staff and the board here who are working to recognize the value of this additional mode of transportation for all Virginians. And a lot of work been done that I think is turning out some very positive results, but also want to thank our partners at the New River Valley there in the authority that they have, or the advocacy group they have established there in Radford, Christiansburg region. And just wanted to say that was well done, all the work they've done up to this point. And the combination of the partnership between everyone has really created some successful paths forward. So thank you all.
Thank you. Any more comments? Just close by saying what an incredible job the VPRA team has done with this. I could not be prouder. And appreciate DJ's leadership.
If y'all want to share that model with some of the data center folks, that's great.
We're not going to share the model, but we're not giving up any staff.
Resumes will change. Fair enough. You saw it. Throw it out there.
So with that, we are going, nothing else. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break for lunch, and we will reconvene at 12:45.
So your lunch is right out here for board members, and if you'll give me just a minute, your drinks will be right here.
Jason, are we on mute now?